Good morning, St. Augustine. Your access to the voices of top local newsmakers starts now. Here's your host, Liz Ryan.
Good morning, and thank you for tuning in. I think you're going to learn a lot today. I know I will. I have two very fascinating guests with me from the Holy Trinity Greek Orthodox Church of St. Augustine. I have Father Stefano Rizzi. Good morning, Father.
Good morning. Nice to be with you guys this morning.
Nice to have you. And I also have Thomas Lekas, who is the Parish Council President. Good morning, Thomas.
Good morning, Liz. It's a pleasure to be here.
Tell me about the Holy Trinity Greek Orthodox Church of St. Augustine, Thomas. Is this a church that's welcoming to people who maybe have never heard of it, don't know anything about the faith?
That's a great question to start with. When I first became Parish Council President back in November of last year, the mission, the goal that I gave our council was to grow our church. And we talked about those things that we're good at and those things that we're not so good at. Well, one of the things, I'll call it our superpower, is we're a very welcoming church. I don't get that because we're too proud of ourselves. I get that because our guests come and tell us that. And so we are a very welcoming church. We allow people space to pray, and then we allow them space to interact with us, coffee, sweets, things to eat afterwards. It is a nice experience for them, and they are many times, or if not always, commenting on how welcome we make them feel.
Mm-hmm. Now, how about people who are not Greek? Are they welcome?
Especially people who are not Greek. This is the Greek Orthodox Church, but it is the Greek Orthodox Church in America. So when you hear about an Orthodox Church and it's got an adjective in front of it, the Russian Orthodox Church, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, the reason that they say that is it grew in that culture, and the Bible, the Gospel, and the Epistle were read and explained in those languages. But if you listen to the liturgy for those faiths, it's very, very similar. Here in America, we still provide a gospel in Greek for some of our Greek parishioners, but then we say it in English because most of us speak English. So yes, very welcoming for both.
Greek food is fantastic. Do you serve Greek food there?
When we have events like our Greek festival coming up in October 11th and 12th, that is a cultural festival, and we have all of the Greek specialties that people have come to love, like gyros and lamb skewers and spanakopita. And
you're making me hungry. I haven't had breakfast yet.
Stop.
Father, the Greek Orthodox Church is a very ancient faith. Tell me about its beginnings.
So within the Orthodox Church, we believe that we are the continuation of the faith that was passed down all the way from the apostles. We say that we are apostolic. And what that means is, first of all, this idea of person to person to person to person. You can trace all of the priests back to the apostles who were the leaders of the early Christian church. There's this understanding that over these thousands and thousands of years, very little has changed. Only practical things. All of the theology, all of the lessons that are taught are the same lessons that were taught by the apostles. And the second reason that we're apostolic is this idea that we as a church have to follow the example of the apostles in being outward facing. So when we say that we're an open church, it's not just because, hey, we're an open church here in St. Augustine. It's because we believe if we really are the church, that's one of our attributes. We have to be open to all, welcoming to all, regardless of who the person is.
Is there an apostle that you particularly admire?
Wow. So I work at the Mission Center, which is here inside town. And so, I think all of the apostles are very dear to me because of what they were doing and the fact that they were missionary. I think probably, I would say Thomas.
Why?
The idea of having lived your life inside that part of the world and then traveling all the way to India to share the gospel with people inside such a foreign culture, such a foreign land, is just something that's always resonated to me. Just the conviction that must have been there. And then, of course, the stories from the gospel where you hear about all the disciples being gathered, Jesus appearing to them, Thomas not believing, and then after that, Thomas's response when Jesus comes to him. And it's just such a beautiful thing when we read it year after year.
Hence the expression "doubting Thomas." Is that where it came from?
Exactly, exactly. And I think it's not just a story of doubt, but it's a story of redemption after that. So it's doubt that then leads to redemption.
Mm-hmm. Is that what maybe inspired you to travel all over the world?
So I grew up for a bit as a missionary kid. I was growing up inside Boston, St. Augustine, but also Kenya and Albania. Mm-hmm. And I came back and I thought, you know what? My dream now is to live the American dream. I want the white picket fence. I want all of those kinds of things. So I went to University of Florida. I decided I was going to be a doctor, a lawyer, something like this. And nothing really seemed to resonate as I was going through my different studies. And my mom said, hey, Stephanos, let's go to Africa. There's a church inside Kenya that's going to be built. Let's go and help build this church. I'm like, okay, Mom, I love you. I'll go to Kenya with you. And so we went to Kenya. And when we were there, I found that these people had this sense of joy that was present inside their lives. And this was a region of the world that is absolutely poverty-stricken. Just absolutely nothing. And I'm thinking, wait, my dream is the white picket fence. That's what brings happiness. And then wait, that doesn't exist here, but there's still happiness. Mm-hmm. And there was kind of a realization that maybe I hadn't got things right when I decided on my dream. So I think that combined with the sense of peace that I felt there, mm-hmm. I realized, this is what I'm supposed to do with my life, is to follow this, what these people have here all the way inside Africa, and not looking after being a doctor, being a lawyer, something that would give me material possessions.
Being exposed to other cultures, I think, is so important to a person's personal growth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And that is also one of the benefits of the Orthodox Church. It's throughout the entire world, so we have this connection. The Orthodox Church here inside St. Augustine is connected with Orthodox churches inside Albania, inside Kenya, inside Indonesia. Anywhere there's an Orthodox church, it's one church.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. You're listening to Good Morning St. Augustine. This morning we're discussing the Holy Trinity Greek Orthodox Church. There's one right here in St. Augustine, and it's a beautiful building. Thomas Lekas, could you tell us about the beautiful dome?
So our church was built about 20 years ago in our community. Its roots go farther back than that, but that's when the Greeks in the community gathered enough money, well, not just the Greeks, but the Orthodox faithful in the community gathered enough money to build this building. And as you drive down County Road 214 towards Highway 95, on your right you'll see this Byzantine church. It's white, very reminiscent of Greece, with a blue dome. So visually it is charming. It is open to all the public. You don't have to be Greek. You just need to want to worship the Lord, and that's what we're about. That's why we're there.
It's a very sensory-driven faith, isn't it?
That's true, is that in the Orthodox Church, all your senses combine to make your faith more real. From the iconography in the dome of the Creator, the iconography of the Virgin Mary with Christ in back of the altar, and all of the life of Christ and the saints that you'll see around you, brings you into the world of heaven. Mm-hmm. So that you can experience the Lord in your prayers. And then we use incense to bring about a whole sensory experience. And we have a Byzantine chanting. That's one of the things that I do is chant for our liturgies and our preparatory activities as well. So we call it orthros. And so you have this entire experience, and that culminates in the communion, where you receive the body and blood of Christ. And there's taste, smell, touch, the music, and the sights and sounds that make your faith real.
Where do the icons come from?
I'm glad you asked that, because on August 9th, we have our Discover the Ancient Faith event from 10 to 1. And Father Rizzi is one of the speakers, as is our parish priest, Father Maximos. And the third person, back to your questions about the icons, is Aristides Kovaci. And Mr. Kovaci is an iconographer. He writes icons. That's what the word iconographer means in the Greek language. He writes icons, and he wrote the icons, the big icons that are in our church. And he'll be present to talk about iconography and what that brings to our faith, along with Father Rizzi and Father Maximos. I'll be facilitating that discussion, so I might add a gem or two, but mostly it is those folks who will be talking. So the icons, they're not objects of worship. They are objects of memory. So one of the things in our Orthodox Church that really speaks to me is that the saints of our church aren't relics. They're not dead. They live, and the experience of their life is worthy of us to learn and to mimic within the context of the lives that we have. Mm-hmm. This is a modern age, a modern life, and so the experience that I would have from my namesake, St. Thomas, would be different than what he lived, but I can get the lessons of his life, the outward-facing mission to grow the church, which he had. It took him all the way to India. We have that here in St. Augustine, a little smaller scope, but it's the same mission. Mm-hmm. That's what the icons are to me and to the Orthodox faithful. Father Rizzi, do you agree with that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think if you look historically at when icons developed, we have to remember that this was a time that the average person could not read. So when you walked into a church and it was full of icons, it was a way that the average person could learn about the church. They couldn't go pick up a Bible. I mean, books were rare, books were expensive, but they could walk into their local church and they could look at these beautiful icons that all had lessons that they should be able to take inside their daily lives. Mm-hmm. They could look at these icons and they could see the life of Christ. And then, I mean, also, there's this idea inside our church. You were talking about it. It involves all of our senses inside the Orthodox Church. And it's this idea that there is not this division between mind, body, and soul. Each of these things are connected. We have a special word. It's called psychosomatic. And so when we, for example, are, let's say, eating really unhealthily, that's not something that just affects our body. It's something that's going to creep over into our mind. It's something that's going to creep over into our soul. So when we have these icons, the idea is that we're looking at things from this lens that your mind, your body, your soul, they're all connected within each other. And so we're creating this space where the entire body is connected to the worship that we are doing, because when our body is connected to the worship that we are doing, it also spills over into our soul. It also spills over into our mind, and we have to involve all of our being inside our worship.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Does the Greek Orthodox Church have something similar to the Catholic Church as far as the Stations of the Cross?
Not directly. So if you have not been to the services preceding Easter inside the Orthodox Church, I highly recommend it. What we do for Easter is we have all the way from the preceding Sunday, from Palm Sunday, up until Easter Sunday. We have about maybe 800 pages of services that we go through. It's one of the most exhausting weeks that you can imagine, but also, in my opinion, the most beautiful week of the year. Mm-hmm. And so it's just service after service that walk through the passion of Christ. So, I mean, I guess that would probably be the closest analogy that we would have.
Mm-hmm. Thomas, what are the similarities or differences between the Greek Orthodox Church and the Catholic Church?
So they were all one church for over 1,000 years. It was really political and power differences more than doctrinal differences that separated them. There were a few doctrinal differences that caused that separation, but it was more about who's in charge and what does that mean. And over the last 1,000 years, while there have been attempts to heal that schism, it's not there yet. Interesting take on the current Pope and the Orthodox Church. There's a lot of dialogue that's going on right now. And so that, for me, is a very good sign of the togetherness of our churches. So what's different? We in the Orthodox Church, we keep the standard of worship the same as it was taught to us from the mission of the apostles. We haven't changed that. The Catholic Mass has changed over time, both in language and content. Although you'll hear similarities. If you study both together, you'll hear similarities. But we have maintained the Liturgy of St. John, who wrote it, 300 A.D.? Every Sunday, that's what we're reading from, is the Liturgy of St. John. And liturgy is the work of the people. It is our worship, our approach to communion with Christ. For our event on August 9th, we call it the Ancient Faith. And the way that we are approaching that day are people who are searching for the truth, who are searching for a spiritual home. They have it from the perspective of Father Rizzi, who is an Orthodox priest and a missionary who has roots in Kenya and Albania and Boston and St. Augustine, and has that picture of orthodoxy and where it drove him. We have it from our parish priest, Father Maximos Politis, who is an Athonite monk. Mount Athos is a part of Greece and separate from Greece. It's a holy land, and it's been reserved for holy worship and for the monks for over 1,000 years. Mm-hmm. And that's his background. So he's come to us bearing that picture of orthodoxy and faith, and he brings that to our church. And I'll be facilitating that. And also, as I said earlier, we'll have Aristides Kovaci, the iconographer, who is helped us make that environment in our church. And he can talk about the icons in a way that is very personal because he wrote them. Mm-hmm,
mm-hmm. And they're beautiful, too. Father, what would you say to somebody who does not currently have a church home and might want to consider the Holy Trinity Greek Orthodox Church?
First of all, I would say that you're welcome. We would absolutely love to have you come and visit our church. We would love to sit down and talk with you after services inside our coffee hour. They always do a wonderful job with the coffee hour. Beyond the coffee, there's usually pastries, other things to eat, and it just creates a very welcoming atmosphere where we all sit down around tables and we're able to discuss things that are going on. Beyond that, I would say that if you are searching, that I, in all of my travels, have never seen anything as marvelously beautiful, as deep, as approaching the mystery of the universe as what you can find within the Orthodox Church. So if that is what you are looking for, I would say that's the best way to find it within the Orthodox Church.
Mm-hmm. And Thomas, August 9th would be a good day for folks who've never set foot inside your church to just come and experience it and just check it out, see what it's all about.
Absolutely, but not just for those who have never experienced orthodoxy. We're encouraging our parishioners to come too. I know a lot about our faith. I've studied. I'm a child born into this faith, and there will be a lot that I'll have to learn from Father Maximos, Father Rizzi, and Mr. Kovalci about our faith. And I'm sure the other parishioners in our church who come will have a lot to learn as well. So it is an environment where you can learn and grow spiritually. I want to tell a little story about our church. We talked earlier about being welcoming. So several Sundays ago, my wife Paula is the president of our women's charity group called Philoftochos, big word. And she has taken on the role of being one of the folks who welcome guests into our church. And so this couple had come, and they were in our church for a bit, and then they came into the coffee hour, and they found the table farthest away from everybody, and they sat down. And Paula walked up to him and said, that doesn't happen in our church. Come with me. And took them to a table where they could meet people and talk. That's the welcoming that we have. And if you want to meet people who can help answer your questions, who can create a relationship of a discussion, our church is one of the places that you'll find that.
It sounds like a great place to make friends. Maybe you're a newcomer to St. Augustine, you don't know many people, and you want to not just explore the faith, but meet great people. It's a great place to go.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Tell me more about your community outreach programs.
We actually have a lot of them. It's one of the things that Philoftochos is a leader in. We support the women's shelters. We support the homeless shelters. And when I say support, when we have an event, we gather money, and we always give a portion of that to those organizations to help.
So come on down on August 9th if you want to learn more about the faith, and if you want to learn a lot more about the food. There's the Greek festival coming up in October, Thomas. Tell me about that.
So our church has been putting on Greek festivals in St. Augustine for longer than 20 years, since before we had this church. They're an event that people look forward to. I know this because they call and ask, when is your festival? So this year we're having it October 11th and 12th. It includes Greek music, Greek food, lamb, chicken, skewers, pasticcio, spanakopita, you name it in Greek, we're going to have it. And it's going to be Saturday from 10 to 9 and Sunday from noon until 6. And the public is welcome.
That's October 11th and 12th. I'm
Correct.
very much looking forward to that. I'm going to work up an appetite for that one. And again, you don't have to be Greek to be a part of the church.
You do not have to be Greek.
And Father, you'll be there on August 9th as well, right?
Yes. Greeting
Greeting the public and talking to people about the faith and answering questions. People shouldn't be afraid to ask questions, right?
No, absolutely not. I think one of my favorite experiences that I've actually had as a priest was I was traveling back from Albania and to the United States, and I booked a flight that by accident had an overnight in Rome. So I just found a hostel inside the city and spent probably 4 hours just sitting and talking with a bunch of agnostic young adults from England who were visiting Rome. And I mean, it is a joy to be able to hear the questions that people have when they are truly searching for God, and to be able to engage those questions. It's just standing in front of the mystery that is Christ.
What is a question that you hear quite often?
So because I work at the Mission Center, I often hear the question, does the Orthodox Church do missions? And I think this is probably related to the fact that many of the historical lands that the Orthodox Church has been prominent were under persecution either from the Ottoman Empire or communism. And so this understanding of doing missions really faded from the church's practice for a bit of time. But as the church came out of that, the church rediscovered this importance of missions and the rich history that we had in missions. So we start looking at the history of what we did throughout all of this time from the time of the apostles, and you'll see this emphasis on reaching out towards those around you. You see this emphasis on welcoming in all those who come to you. And as you read that, you're like, wait, why aren't we doing that today? So the answer is now we have restarted all of that. Probably within the last maybe 60, 70 years, there's been a rebirth in missions and this understanding that we're a missionary church. And again, that's one of the beautiful things of being connected to a historical church, is the historical situations and factors caused us to have to take a pause. But you can never really divorce yourself from it, because if you read your history, you're like, oh, wait, that's what we do. This is part of who we are. And you come right back to it.
It seems that lately there is a movement where people are coming back to faith, coming back to God, coming back to the church very recently. Are you seeing the same trend?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have heard from a number of different Orthodox priests throughout the country. And I do remember thinking maybe 10, 20 years ago that all of the demographic data indicated that people were really leaving the faith. But I think that the demographic data now shows that the churches are growing, of course, but I think it speaks to something deeper than that, which is that when we try and have an existence that is maybe divorced from faith, it is something that it's not just like this, I make the sign of the cross or I say a prayer or something like that, but our faith it goes so much deeper beyond that. Our faith is about building community. Our faith is about realizing what we are supposed to be as individuals. I mean, all of what our faith is teaching us is for the purpose of helping us become in the likeness of God, which is what we were created to be. And so when we divorce ourselves from the best way that teaches us how we are supposed to be as humans, there's going to be negative effects. And not in a sense of like a punishment, but just from removing myself from that which is life, I experience something other than that life. And so people are realizing that, and they're coming back to what is really the source of healthiness, of love, of community, of all those things.
Thomas,
we've seen in our church, to that question, over the last, it's been obvious to me over the last 4 years, the interest that young men and women, maybe skewed a little bit more towards the to men, have in searching out a faith to make their lives better, different than what they are. So we have a number of young men who have come to us and joined our church. And I wanted to clear something up. This is a welcoming event to discover the ancient faith. We aren't about trying to draw people away from other churches. Where people discover Christ in their faith is the right place for them to be. We are a home for them when they need to grow farther than where they are. But if they are worshiping Christ and have a relationship with Christ where they are, we take joy in that. We're glad for them, and we're not about trying to pull Catholics into Orthodoxy or Protestants into Orthodoxy. We're about helping people grow in their faith of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
I think that COVID caused a seismic shift in society and isolated us. And not just COVID, but I think technology, cell phones, computers. People are working from home a lot more, and then we had to distance ourselves during the COVID epidemic. I think that caused a sense of isolation in society, and now people are hungry. They're yearning for connectivity, not just to each other, other human beings and society, but to God as well. I think it created a yearning in us.
I agree with that. I have an experience when my children were young. I was taking my son to a movie, and out comes this group of young ladies, girls. They all had phones. They were together, but all of them had the phones in front of them and were texting or talking to someone other than the people they were with.
Right. Yeah.
That's that isolation that that technology has given us, and that was years ago. Mm-hmm. So it's not a recent thing. The technology developed along with cell phones and computers and the internet that allowed that. And yes, people, I think, are realizing that that can be an emptiness, and that we are, as Father Rizzi said, we're beings that crave community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And church is a great place to find that community. Are you seeing your congregation grow, or more people discovering your church?
Slowly, we are growing. My mother had a saying that I always remembered. It was in Greek, and I'll go ahead and say it on this podcast and then translate it, but she would say, "Fasuli to fasuli, yemisi to sakuli." It's very musical. But what that means is, bean by bean, your little bag fills up. And yes, bean by bean, person by person, our church is growing.
That's beautiful. Father, are you here every Sunday?
I like to come to the parish in St. Augustine as often as is possible. I work at the Orthodox Christian Mission Center, which is also inside St. Augustine, Florida. And what that is, it's the national office for all of the missionary activity from all of the different Orthodox churches inside America. So this center, it has multiple different efforts that it does. It has about 18 long-term missionaries that have been serving in the field from anywhere between 1 year to 28 years. It has over $1 million of grants that are distributed each year to other churches that are trying to grow for theological education, for charitable works, all of this kind of things. And it also has a translation department that helps all of these different churches translate the services into their own local native languages.
Wow. There's so much to learn.
Could we bring up one more thing?
Absolutely.
We were talking about St. Augustine, and we live in St. Augustine, so I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. So not only do we have the ancient city, the oldest city in the North America, we have the Orthodox Mission Center, and this is the place, St. Augustine is the place back in 1768 that the first Greeks immigrated to. And that's the St. Photios National Shrine. So we have the Orthodox Mission Center, we have St. Photios National Shrine, which commemorates the struggles that those people had. And those names of those people that came to St. Augustine still resonate in the streets that you see as you drive around. You know, the Pellissiers and the Uzinas came with that group of people. And then, of course, you have the ancient faith, Holy Trinity Greek Orthodox Church. So when you're in St. Augustine, you not only have St. Augustine and St. John's, you have the Holy Trinity Greek Orthodox Church as well.
Wow. Interesting. There's a lot of Greek history here in St. Augustine, not just Spanish, Greek as well. I could talk to you guys all day. Unfortunately, our time is up, but let's recap, Thomas, before I let you go. Folks can come out August 9th for the Discover the Ancient Faith event. Where and when is it?
It's at the Holy Trinity Greek Orthodox Church on County Road 214, 2940. It's you'll see our church as you go west on County Road 214, just before you come to the I-295 overpass. We start at 10 o'clock, and we'll end at 1 o'clock or when the questions and the refreshments die out.
And look for the beautiful dome, right?
Look for the beautiful blue dome.
And if folks can't make it August 9th, they can come any Sunday? correct?
Any Sunday.
And
Yes.
you have coffee hours too?
We have a coffee hour after every liturgy.
What time are your liturgies?
Liturgy starts, so there's two phases to liturgy. There's a preparatory phase and then the liturgical phase. The preparatory phase starts at 9, the liturgy at 10, and the coffee hour about 11:30.
Okay, thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you this morning. Thomas Lekas and Father Stefano Rizzi, thank you for joining me today.
It was our pleasure to be with you. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. I hope we can talk again sometime.
Absolutely. Remember, all of our programs can be heard as a podcast. Go to flaglerbroadcasting.com, click on podcasts, and scroll down to Good Morning St. Augustine. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday in our beautiful, ancient, historic city.